once at the beginning. And now before we actually start, we have to tell which translation memory to use, which glossary to use. So we go into the project setup. In the project setup, we can create a new translation memory. And then you have also, again, a list of language combinations. Also here, we use the same kind of combination, language plus local plus country normally. Here is just a short overview. You will note that in most cut tools there is only 2 letter codes shown, because TMX and TVX standards doesn't support ISO 6393. This is 3 letter codes. So when you have these and they show up, this doesn't mean you cannot use 3 letter codes. You may. These 3 open source tools are the only ones that can. I don't know of a commercial one that is able to handle them. So you add, again, source and target language with your codes. And then you tell if you want to use Unicode. Now, as long as you work with normal standard languages, you could also avoid Unicode, but I would always say to activate it. Because when you go to accented letters or even very particular alphabets, then you need Unicode letters. Okay? Another option you have is importing a TMX. Now, what I tried to do here was an import of the Omega T TMX translation memory I created before while I was translating. So to reuse what I did in HTML here in text. So I select the TMX, the translation memory from Omega T I had before, click on open, and then you get all these nice messages about importing, and that it can take a long time. I mean, if the translation memory is big, it has to be converted. So it's basic OpenOffice basic macro, and this takes a bit to convert. Once you have the conversion done, you see it up there that it has been selected. Then you have the glossaries. You select the glossary where you want to put your text in. It's a normal text file like the one in Omega T. Here you can exchange easily, but it has always the same problem. You have to do everything manually. It is better, I always say it's better than nothing. Of course, before we didn't even have that. But, okay. Hi. So, there are 2 kinds of glossaries. One is a standard glossary, which you select only for reference, which is not going to be modified when you make select glossary. And then you have a user glossary, where new terms can be added. And here you do it while you're translating within the document. Okay, being at the beginning of the text, we want to start with the first translation, which goes with alt down, and you have the segment that opens. And this is exactly the same you get if you get with WordFast and GLaDOS. When you work with those 2 tools, you have exactly the same view. This is those 2 lines that are then separated by this this text here. Here and here. And here you can already see this is a match that comes from the translation memory we built before in Omega T. So when you have parts that are the same, you can simply take them over, but well, you check them if they're okay, and then you can go ahead. Or here you have to do the adaptation to what needs to be in there. Now, why anaphrasios? Well, when you work as a professional translator, there are still quite some translation agencies that ask you to produce Trados type files. So if you don't want to buy this whole thingy of Trados and cope with dongles and whatever you need there and spend about 400 euros each year to get an update, then you can, at least the first translations, do them that way with OpenOffice. As long as the texts are normal, you don't have problems. And there where you get into trouble, you get into trouble with Trados as well. I have both. I know both of them. I bought Trados licenses up to 3 or 4 years ago, and then I simply stopped because, I mean, no, you cannot ask a translator who maybe doesn't even do it full time to pay each year so much in continuous software updates that don't bring you so much new stuff, because the segmentation in the end is always the same. You deliver a TMX and you deliver the text with these texts in there so that another person can easily proofread. So we go ahead, and also here you see it's we get a partial match. It says 60% match. I put it very low here to get the matches because I had only a few sentences. Okay, so normally you should work with around 75 to 80% upwards, because below it doesn't make much sense. You would get sentences that are too different to really help you to translate. And then we go down to the other part, and there you see what happens when you already have the sentence in there. It shows up in green. It means the same text has already been translated before. It's 100% match. But anyway, it needs checking because, like I said before, when you have a whole paragraph, it might be that you have the same sentence from one paragraph to the other, but it could need a different translation, depending on the context. So this is why, in some circumstances, paragraph translation is preferred to sentence translation. At least for me, it depends. So here we have all of them done. And just a glance on how to add these additional entries. You just select Alt-E, Alt-key plus E, or pull selected from the menu. Then you are asked the source term, target term, eventually a definition or description or a note. And then by going ahead always with OK, you get the whole entry, and the glossary part asks you, is this entry really OK or not? So in the end you have a second possibility to say it's OK or not. If you go ahead and put it in there and afterwards you see it doesn't work, or you make typing errors or something, you have to go in there manually, open it and change it. Now, we have to clean up the document. This clean up is the same terminology you use also in Trados again. So you say clean it up, and you get your dialog where it asks you for file name, because it doesn't overwrite automatically the file where you worked in. This means the segmented file remains for you for reference if you give a new name there. And I would always do that, because you never know if there are changes afterwards, or you get back the proofread text, and then you can compare it more easily. Okay, so this is the text where all these texts have been removed. And now, the next try was to go back from anaphrasis to omega t, very short, just to see that this is possible really to exchange from one software to the other. As long as we are on TMX, which is an exchange standard, you can change from one software to the other normally. All CAD tools, all conventional CAD tools use it. So you export to TMX, you give it a name and save it, and then let's see, we have this translation memory created before. Now, whenever you work with omega t, you have these 5 folders.